Sadly, no Amy, but we do have photographer Javier Aznar with us tonight. Now, Javier's photographs, they make my skin crawl. And that is because everything that he most loves to photograph do the same thing. They crawl, they slither, they leap. Fortunately, these often reviled and mostly overlooked species have an advocate in Javier. He hopes that his photographs reveal the magnificence of the hidden world of creatures that crawl below the horizon of most peoples, animals that, though nightmarish to some, become more marvelous and fascinating the closer one looks. And a quick glance at the galleries on his website bring home his affection for some of these outcasts. Silk masters, a tribute to spiders, cold-blooded scales, an exaltation of the reptiles. Bizarrest, a compilation of extraordinary animals, some weird, unusual, or outlandish, some curious and even comical. The astonishing world of arthropods. Like many photographers working in the conservation space, Javier studied to be a biologist, but he was a naturalist for as long as he could remember. He told me, when I was a kid, I collected bugs and put them in jars, but when I got my first camera, I started to collect them in photos instead of my hands. Before he finished that degree in biology, he knew that photography would be his career. But that science background informs his approach to his photography. He aims to present a personal point of view, to bring empathy and an understanding of biology, behavior, and interconnectivity to his work. He says photography connects me to the world in a deeper way. Although Madrid is home, he started his photography career in Ecuador. And while there, he focused on a group of little-known insects called tree hoppers. Rarely studied or photographed, they immediately presented challenges and opportunities. Challenges in that he spent almost 5 years photographing the diversity of the species. An opportunity in that with this set of photographs, all doors opened. He won the portfolio category at the 2018 Wildlife Photographer of the Year competition. He was named Ranger Rick's Wildlife Photographer of the Year, and he had his story published in National Geographic. As a testament to the power of Javier's photography, that ability to find narrative in the macro world, I take credit for bringing him into the National Geographic. It was a proud moment. But the photographs were just too good, the talent too evident to ignore. He quickly followed up on tree hoppers with a proposal on rattlesnakes. While his photo editor, Kaya Byrne, was initially dubious about the visual potential, she later told me, his enthusiasm and love for photography is contagious. Working with Javier, I got to see the immense dedication he has towards the work, always getting the better image, always trying to improve. And most impressive of all, he never complains. He just says, I can do better. Another thing that was evident during that assignment was Javier's commitment to an honest and compassionate approach towards photographing his subjects. As Dr. Jen Guyton, another biologist turned photographer, told me about Javier, for years he has been leading the conservation on ethics in this kind of wildlife photography. He is a true role model and is changing the way we all approach these species. Anyone who spends time following Javier on Instagram is familiar with the many photographs he has made of snakes that have been moved from dangerous situations, mainly roads and villages. He rescues them, photographs them, and then lets them all go while making sure viewers understand the circumstances under which the image was made. Javier says, I am always amazed by life, by our world. To be in the field and see something new to me, and sometimes new to science, an ephemeral moment in the life of the subject, or simply a beautiful scene, and be able to show it to the rest of the world to surprise them, but also be able to change minds or help in conservation. This is what I love. Photography allows me to give voice to my favorite subjects. And as his friend and fellow photographer Jasper Doss reminds me, through Javier's stories, we realize that we cannot live without these underdogs. His connectivity shines through. So please welcome Javier to the stage.
Hi everyone, thank you so much for coming. Today, first I want to say that I'm really sorry that Amy Vital is not here. And I really hope that she recovers pretty soon. Today you probably were expecting to see some elephants and some rhinoceros, but no worries, because I have here a rhinoceros beetle. It's not the same, but... During the next few minutes, I'm going to try to show you, under my perspective, how the jungle and all the organisms living on it are interconnected. During the last 7 years, I have been traveling to Ecuador, especially in the Amazon and the Chocó rainforest, trying to connect the different lines and dots between organisms in order to have a better understanding of how complex these habitats are and why it's so important to save it all as a whole. Since when any part of the chain is broken or disappear, everything changes. The rainforest is a very complex and unique habitat. Rainforests are the most biodiverse areas on Earth, and everything is interconnected by invisible lines, or sometimes visible, like in this photo. All you need to do is to go closer and observe cautiously how all is connected in a way or another. What we see here is an egg, a hummingbird egg on its nest. But if you observe more closely, you see how complex this nest is. It has different materials, from lichens to moss, to some vegetable fibers, and even some spider silk used to pack it all. Each nest is different, depending on the area and the available materials the bird can find, but all show a very complex structure. The rainforest is like a hummingbird nest, but way more complex. And as it refers to its own name, it's ruled by water, by the rain. Everything on it needs the water in order to grow, survive, and grow properly. The water is everywhere, in the plants, in the fog, in the rivers and lagoons. There are rainy and dry seasons, and the changes in the humidity, in the level of water on the rivers and lagoons change everything in different ways. The water is needed for the animals to drink, for the plants to grow and flowering, and like in these two photos, it will mark the availability of food, like the flowers full of nectar for a moth, or the feces for an agami heron. A high humidity is also needed by some animals to grow, like this katydid molting at night. Or when the rainy season comes, it's also the time when some animals breed, like this glass frog. As I say, all is ruled by water. In the forest, there are a lot of different niches, from the ground to the canopy, each one with different food resources, and animals and plants have evolved in order to occupy these niches, in order to survive. Eat or be eaten. This is the play that all the animals play every day in a hostile habitat, full of resources, but really dispersed. We barely know all the species found in these jungles, and each year, scientists find new species that are described. The diversity of animals and plants is so high that it's impossible to know and completely understand everything that is happening there. But you can get an idea just observing the landscape a bit. There is plenty of food here, but each one has a different food preference and specialization, and some always have to die in order to feed others. There are plenty of animals that feed on plants and fruits, like these huatzins, a bird who ferments the leaves on a complex stomach, and the result is a nasty odor that characterizes this prehistoric animal. Most of the insects also are herbivorous and very abundant, being the food of many other animals like reptiles, amphibians, birds, mammals, arthropods, and they are everywhere, here, from caterpillars to leafcutter ants. And some have evolved in order that other animals don't feed on them, like this leaf mimic katydid that you can see that is perfectly matching the colors and shapes of the leaves. Two wasps are taking care of their nest, while two jacamars are specialized in hunting wasps in flight. There are some elements and food that are not easy to find and really needed in order to survive for some animals. And some animals serve others for free, while others as an exchange for something. Here, you see two howler monkeys, probably looking for some fruits on a palm tree. But what we don't see here is the incredible amount of leaves, fruits, and poop that they throw to the forest floor while walking on during their daily life, and how other animals use it in order to eat and survive. Some animals feed on the poop of other bigger animals, taking the mineral salts, or simply because there are a lot of seeds or food that otherwise would be difficult to find and get access for them. Mineral salts are very scarce and very needed by the animals to survive. And how and where the animals find it is amazing to observe. Sometimes they find it on the shore of the rivers, like these butterflies, who filter the water accumulated on the sand with its proboscis in order to obtain some minerals. Sometimes they find it on the tears of some mammals, like this tapir, or on the nose and eyes of a turtle sunbathing in the hottest hours of the day. Some animals find it in clay leaks, which they also use to disintoxicate from the toxins of their diets. Other animals are simply opportunistic and have found that it is better to wait for the poop of others, like this cockroach, who waits for the cigarette honeydew that the leafhopper produces thanks to the diet based on sap. Other organisms, knowing this fact, protects the animal who produces it from other predators, like these ants, who for a drop of honeydew will fight any insects who gets close to the leafhopper. There are plenty of examples where animals and plants have evolved together in order to survive. And this is one of these examples, a licorice flower and a hermit hummingbird, whose bill has the same shape as the nectaries and will get pollinated while the hummingbird obtains a drink of nectar. But in this evolutionary race for survival, the predators, prey, and parasites are the ones who have the most crazy examples and connections. Here, you see a beautiful wasp. But this is a parasitic wasp who lays its eggs inside the caterpillar. And when the larvae grow, they go outside of the body of the caterpillar, dying, and you see all these small little white eggs that are not eggs, but cocoons. Spines, horns, and other defenses are usually effective against predators, but not always are effective. And some animals have evolved in order to jump these defenses, like this stingbug, who is feeding on a caterpillar thanks to its large proboscis. Sorry. Or this carnivorous katydid that, thanks to the hard chitinous structure, it doesn't, the spines doesn't affect it. A snail looks safe thanks to its huge case as shelter, but nobody is safe in the rainforest. Here you can see this omnivorous katydid eating soup of snail soup with its long two front legs. Being omnivorous is the best option, since more opportunities to eat you have. But as I say, every animal or plant has at least one predator or parasite, and when a group of ants attack, even the most powerful spines can't help. The rule of the bigger fits on the smaller usually works, and different strategies have been developed in order to avoid getting eaten, but not always works. And as you can see here, sometimes the predator is predated, like this bullet ant, or this spider feeding on a frog. Or for example, this scorpion feeding on a spider. Anyways, always there is a predator that is going to feed on another predator. But being a predator killer requires some specialization, like this amazing wasp that paralyze the spiders, bring them to their nest, and lay an egg on a cell that will be closed until a new wasp releases it. Sometimes, the best option is to collaborate with other animals, bigger and stronger, like in this photo where a jumping spider has the nest close to a wasp nest, something that is avoided for many animals. Living in colonies is pretty convenient, and bees are well known for this behavior. But they are not always safe, and lucky when they are flying alone. Sometimes gathering together in a group is the best defense, like these caterpillars sleeping together in order to avoid predators or parasitoids. But this parasitic fly found a way to do its job and lay its eggs on the caterpillar. Animals have enough problems to deal with that we humans have made their life way more difficult. Nowadays, humans and animals are interconnected also, and we have broken the equilibrium of the ecosystems in many places and ways. But in some places, we have been surviving for centuries just taking the necessary and what nature provides us without breaking this equilibrium. And also, our way of life has modified some behaviors. We eat insects, while insects also feed on our crops or food estuaries. Our way of life has affected everything, and like you can see here, some animals have been attracted by our lights or our structures in order to find shelter. Or food, like this opportunistic frog attracted by the insects coming to the light, using the light as a buffet. But all these interactions are fortuitous, and new lines and dots have been created, because the world and the animals and plants to live on it are always changing. The circle of life continues even when the animals or plants die, and some organisms grow and feed on dead litter on the ground or fallen trees. Fungus are one of these organisms, and in the rainforest they have found the perfect place to live on. The high humidity is perfect for this fungus to grow and decompose the dead organic matter. But other animals have found fungus delicious, and some of them have evolved to attract these animals in order to spread their spores. Like this stinky fungus that only grows for a night, attracting the insects with a strong odor. There are some fungi that even specialize on killing insects and transforming them into live zombies, changing their behavior, going to a high place, dying and spreading their spores. And some animals have evolved imitating some of this fungus, avoided by predators like this caterpillar or this treehopper. We have theories, but some cannot be proved yet. But the truth is that these animals are less predated. During my time in the Amazon, I have extensively worked on a group of animals that are the perfect example of how all these lines, dots, evolutionary and natural history can work together. This was my first story in National Geographic, and it was about treehoppers. A group of insects, very tiny and diverse, with more than 3,000 species all over the world. It is in the tropics where more species can be found, with a real diversity of shapes, colors, and wear structures. Some of them even mimic other organisms, like fiercely ants, insects infected by fungus, thorns. But the most fascinating thing about these insects is the social behavior they have. As I mentioned before, there are some animals that, due to their diet, produce a tasty honeydew, rich in sugars and other amino acids. And this group of insects is one of them. And they have some relationship with ants, bees, and wasps, and depending on the species. And in exchange for a drop of honeydew, these insects will protect them from predators as well as keep the colonies clean of parasites and fungus. The plants, in exchange also, receive the protection against herbivorous mammals by the ants, who protects the treehoppers. But not only this behavior makes them fascinating, but they also have parental care of the nymphs and communicate with the other treehoppers by acoustical signals and movements. A fascinating group that is a perfect example of how these invisible lines connect some of the organisms of the jungle. This is just a small view of the many relationships and interactions that occur in the rainforest. The jungles are simply amazing and disgracefully very threatened nowadays. Mining, logging companies, oil extraction companies, as well as other causes, are killing some of this rainforest. I just hope that people realize how sensible these habitats are in order to restore them and conserve them because are unique. In this journey, I have seen devastated forests and other horrible scenes, but sometimes I find hope, like this frog, thought to be extinct for more than a decade, or this puma, who are symbols of a healthy ecosystem. Thank you so much.